Hey, yo, what up, what up? Happy Thanksgiving, man, to all those who celebrate. I know we got a lot of people who aren't in the States or who may not celebrate Thanksgiving, but to all those who celebrate, happy Thanksgiving. It's not a podcast, it's just my thoughts with Rob Markman. Just want to get something out today. Probably, gonna be light, but, I just had something on my mind, before we all get to the festivities, to the families, to the getting together. Plus a little cleanse for my page, for the timeline, for the order of events, man. Last week we got Kendrick's GNX album, and we're going track by track, and then Monday and Tuesday we get the lawsuits. I did a couple of lives, did a couple of videos on that, had to discuss that. There's a lot of contentious energy there, and it is what it is, man. We love this, we're happy to talk about it, but I just can't dwell in the back and forth every time. It's just not good for my spirit. And I've been consuming other things. One of the things that I've been consuming and wanted to talk about, and I feel like, we might have gotten lost in all of this, is J. Cole and Eve and Scott Lazer have it's not a podcast. See, it's not a podcast. It's an audio series called The Inevitable. And so I subscribed to it, and I've been listening. It took me a while to catch up. Like I wasn't there like as they dropped live. I just had been working, but episode 1 was about the Come Up mixtape, and then we get the Come Up mixtape comes out. Episode 2 was about Lights, Please. Episode 3 was about the warm up. Then we get the warm up mixtape out. Episode 4 was Who Dat. Episode 5 was Friday Night Lights, and last night we got Friday Night Lights. It's on streaming. It's out on DSPs. It's more widely available for those who didn't have it from when it dropped originally. And it's really just Cole and Eve going down memory lane, talking about the emotions and just the journey of and where Cole was at and where they were at, and how their friendship developed, and how their business relationship developed, to get to this point, to where Cole is. And I think it's a dope series in the fact that it just brings back so many memories for me. But it reminds me of me and my people. Shout out to my man Shake, aka Franklin Rossman, or Franklin Rossman is the name his mother gave him. Shake is his AKA. Those who know me in real life personally know Shake, know my boy, one of my best friends. And it just reminds me of the journey that he and I had growing up. Like where you think, where you striving to make it, and each little win felt like the biggest win. Then it set in, you still had longer to go, and it's just the journey step by step. So the Cole podcast is dope. I highly recommend it. It is $10 for all episodes. But next Cole is going to get into the Sideline Story, which is the debut. They're going to do 2 parts of Born Sinner. They're going to do 2 parts of Forest Hills Drive, and then they're going to stop right there, and maybe there'll be a season 2. Now, when I first talked about it, I first did my Cole video, I said, I wonder if he's going to drop. I had a feeling, I'm like, they're going to put all these mixtapes on DSPs. There has been rumors, I haven't been able to confirm, that this is a rollout, and at the end of this series, which ends on December 12th, that Cole is going to drop his new album, potentially The Fall Off. But also, if we remember, Cole had teased another project called It's a Boy. So a lot of people think It's a Boy may be coming. I don't know if we're going to get a new Cole project or what this is leading up to, but this on its own is pretty cool. Like I said, because it reminded me of growing up with my peoples, and it also took me down memory lane because my career was really kind of taking off as a journalist and in media, as Cole's was. So I just wanted to share some things with you that I thought was interesting. First of all, the first time I kind of met and connected with Cole, I talked about this before. My man Kanante, who used to work at Slam Magazine, sent me some joints before the warm-up came out, I believe. And he sent me Dead Presidents 2, Royal Flush. I somehow got In the Morning at some point. I don't remember. The timeline is fuzzy, but Kanante used to work at Slam Magazine. I worked at Double XL. We were a couple of cubicles over. So we had this section in Double XL called Show and Prove. And I got to find the issue. I don't have the issue here with me. That's where we would feature new artists. A lot of times when the artist would first get covered in Double XL, they would get Show and Prove. So I was the editor of that section. So I said, let's do this thing on J. Cole. And I assigned it to Kanante since he put me on. So Kanante wrote that. Then Jay-Z was dropping the Blueprint. The fact of the matter is the way it was. I was pretty like junior at the time, and I was climbing my way up the ranks, and we had to pitch stories to the editor-in-chief. And a lot of the young artists just wasn't on the editor-in-chief's radar. They were worried about, she was worried about the covers. So she's worried about the Jay-Z's of the world, the Lil Wayne's of the world, the 50 Cents of the world, the Dr. Dre's of the world, the T.I.'s of the world, the people who are going to help us sell magazines. So that's really where her focus is. And then me being the young guy and just the younger staff in general, we were listening to the Wiz Khalifas and the Drakes and the Big Crits and the J. Coles and the Mac Millers and the Kendrick Lamars and finding space for them in the magazine and fighting for space. But we had to pitch, we had to give our plan. Okay, this is my section. I'm in charge of this section, but the editor-in-chief still had to approve. So it wasn't like, J. Cole just wasn't like a big priority. So it was October 2009, and we landed this cover with Jay-Z. Jay-Z was dropping the Blueprints 3. And the way magazines work, for those who don't know, or at least the way they used to work, is this is the October 2009 issue, but it hit stands in September. It always hit stands a month before what the issue said. So if it's October 2009, it hit stands in September. That means we were planning this in at least August. We were putting this together. So we're a couple of months ahead. So landed, got Jay-Z to agree to do the cover for Blueprint 3. And me already being a fan of Cole, he had been in Show and Prove already, but he still wasn't like a high priority, in terms of editorially, like he didn't sell magazines for us. But I knew as soon as we landed Jay on the cover, I said, I could pitch a feature for Cole. So I went to the editor-in-chief like, yo, all right, we got Jay on the cover. We should do a feature. Jay had the cover story. So usually the cover story is like, bam, like 6 to 7 pages, right? But I was like, yo, let's do a feature on his new artist on Rock Nation. Let's do J. Cole, that kid we did in Show and Prove. And she was like, yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense, and greenlit it. I don't know, and I can't say, and it's not to throw her under the bus. What I'm saying is again, her radar, her scope is way bigger. It's like, who do I need on the cover? How can I sell these magazines? And then we figure out how to fill up the inside with interesting stories and stuff to keep people engaged and reading. I don't know if Jeezy was on the cover for this month for whatever reason. I don't know if she would have greenlit the J. Cole feature, because the truth is, like, Cole, he didn't have a project coming out. It wasn't, and if you listen to The Inevitable, they were trying to find a hit single around this time. He had just did A Star Is Born for Jay-Z, but they're trying to find like a single so he could get his debut album off the ground. He had already dropped the warm up, but it was some time was going by after the warm up. He still couldn't get greenlit by the label for an album, so he dropped Friday Night Lights. But so Cole is kind of in between, like still trying to figure it out stage. So again, if Jeezy was on the cover, if Ross was on the cover, if Wayne was on the cover, I don't know if I say, hey, let's do a feature on J. Cole, if it makes sense. But Jay is on the cover. This is his artist, knowing that the people who buy this issue are going to be like heavy Jay-Z fans. They might want to read about his new artist. So I pitched J. Cole, and right away she was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's see if they want to do it. And we reached out. So I did this article. And another fun fact. So the article was called, the headline was called Handed Down. Another fun fact that I don't know that a lot of people notice, or a lot of people don't remember. But I'll scan this too. This will be on screen. But XXL, the headlines that we used to use, our rule was it always had to be a song title from somewhere. So we always have fun, like trying to match the song title, like trying to match the feature and the artist that we were doing with the song title that made sense and made it relevant, right? So J. Cole's was called Handed Down. Why was it called Handed Down? For those that know, Jay-Z Volume 2, Hard Knock Life. Intro, first song is called Handed Down. And that was the Memphis Bleak solo record. So this was the time when Jay was saying, Jay was always flirting and saying, hey, this is going to be my last album. I'm going to pass it off to Bleak. He's going to be a good rapper, new, improved Jay-Z. So where Bleak was the future of Rockefeller, and the song was called Handed Down. So using Handed Down as the title on this J. Cole article was me just saying, this is the future of the rock, even though it wasn't Rockefeller, it was Rock Nation. I just thought it was a good pairing. You know what I'm saying? And then, the Jay-Z feature for Blueprint was called About Me. I forgot whose song was About Me, but there was probably a couple songs called About Me. But, fitting title. Bonsu Thompson wrote this. Shout out to Bonsu, the legend. Bonsu, like, amazing, amazing writer. But I want to get into this Cole thing real quick. I want to read the first paragraph because it's about Diddy. Kind of. It's really about Cole. We used a story. Cole was telling me a story about Diddy during the interview, and when I was writing, I'm like, oh, this is a dope intro because it illustrates who Cole is and who he was at the time. And listening to The Inevitable, and I'll just set it up for those who haven't listened. Part of The Inevitable and the through line in that podcast series was Cole was signed to Jay-Z, but he wasn't on yet. He wasn't exactly rich. A whole bunch of people didn't know him. He's trying to figure out his first album. He's trying to figure out where he fit in. And Cole also knew what was coming or was anticipating that soon his life will change. But he was also trying to hold on and stay grounded for as long as he can and not lose sight of where he was at, because he knew once things changed, he couldn't go back. They talk about in the podcast series going to Miami for Memorial Day every year and going as broke college students, and it was fun. But each year they would go, more and more people would know Cole, and it started to become like impossible for Cole to just go to the beach because so many people would flock, or impossible for Cole to go like in the water or go for a swim in Miami because there was so much more notoriety. So this intro to this article is interesting, and I'm going to read it to you. And also, don't read to, because it's Diddy, it's I'll read it and then we'll kind of talk about it, man, because I don't want this to be salacious, but I just think this is perfect. The intro says, Jermaine Cole has some nerve. I always love starting articles like that. I did that once with a Plies article too, where you kind of paint like you're about to write something negative about something, but it's just really sarcastic, right? But it's like, Jermaine Cole has some nerve. The 24-year-old hasn't even released a debut album yet, and he's already turning down invites from Sean Diddy Combs. Yeah, J. Cole must really be feeling himself, or is he? Situated in the control room of a nondescript Soho NYC studio. That was my fault because I didn't know the name of the studio we were in. I should have got the name, so I put kind of nondescript. Plus, it was in the tuck, so it wasn't like the big fancy studio, but the studio we were in. And if you listen to The Inevitable, Cole talks about it. It was Alito Studios. It was Mark Ronson and Rich Kleiman's studio. I remember now. I didn't know it was Alito at the time. I might have forgot when I was writing it, but I didn't shout out Alito, but it was Alito Studios where he was working out of. Situated in the control room of a nondescript Soho NYC studio, J. Cole, the first signee to Jay-Z's Sony-distributed, Live Nation-funded Rock Nation label, explains why he balked at a chance to chill with Puff at a Coldplay concert this past July. So again, remember I said we're probably doing this in August, so this just happened in July 2009. At a Coldplay concert this past July at the All Points West Music and Arts Festival in New Jersey. There's a quote from Cole. Something was like, nah, you're not ready for that. This drives a Lamborghini down the West Side Highway, says Cole. I told him, yeah, I might have to fuck with you. But the rap rookie was merely being polite, figuring an outright no would come off as wrong. And then Cole says, I haven't had many opportunities to experience the fame and the glamour, but I feel like I'm trying to postpone it for as long as possible. Cole knows his time will eventually come. He's just in no rush to experience it. He's waited this long. He could wait a little bit longer. Now I didn't know anything that I know now. Like this has nothing, they're talking about going to a music festival. I know he uses the word partying. I know I use the word party, hanging out. They're talking about a music festival. This has nothing to do with the freak offs and nothing to do with Puff's current situation. But for me from just sitting with Cole, like I was able to glean like, oh, this is who he is, like he's really grounded, and this was the perfect story for me to illustrate it. Also, crystal ball looking in the future, what nobody would know, and especially at that time, and y'all didn't know, the world didn't know for years after, was the Cole Diddy altercation in the VMA after party. That Cole and Diddy actually partying, like being in the same party atmosphere, would actually not be the move for Cole. This is just not. It just wasn't a space where he was comfortable, and then you see what their future was, and it's like, oh wow, like how did you write that? These things have nothing to do with each other, but it's funny how it works out. And then I'm not gonna read this whole story, but it goes on to tell just his story. I'm just explaining to you who Cole is. So talk about growing up in Fayetteville, talking about his cousin from Louisiana who put him on the Master P, and they called the hotline, and him being influenced by cannabis and Eminem, and then coming to St. John's University and standing outside of Rock the Mic Studios and giving the tape to Jay-Z. How he got signed, that Lights Please was the one that did it for him, and so we're just setting up the scene. So it's a lot of story that especially if you're listening to the inevitable. And then the last paragraph, I'll read it. Oh, it also talks about him having songs. I remember he played me Lost Ones that he had songs for the album that he was just putting away. And then the last paragraph is, according to a young J. Cole's calculations, there will be no industry parties or red carpet events before the album drops. So he was so focused on working on this album. Instead, the young rhyme spitter producer is situated in that nondescript, no frills Manhattan studio, picking beats, looking for inspiration. I'm sorry, Rich. I'm sorry, Bart. Cole's interest in the interview has waned, but he turns down the music to get one final point across. If it wasn't for Jay-Z, they wouldn't even be talking about me, he says. So until I put out an album, make a classic, put out hit singles, I'm going to be Jay-Z's artist. But the only thing that's going to get me out of his shadow, is building my own shadow. Then I can go chill with Puff. And then it ends with priorities in order. And he was right, because again, like I said, I don't know if Jay-Z wasn't on the cover if I would have got greenlit to write this feature on Cole. So I thought, just looking back at this, I'm like, yo, this was a good reflection of where we're at. And then I remember when this hit the stands maybe the same day as Blueprint 3, if I'm not mistaken. There's a video, I'll play it right now. There's a video of B-Dot taking Cole to the Hall of Fame, Coliseum in Queens, Moreland, Queens. Is where the mixtape spot, the CD spot, the magazine spot, and Cole, I think they go by the Blueprint 3. It's the first album that Cole is on commercially. And then Wale's album came out and they did Beautiful Bliss after that, even though I think he did the Beautiful Bliss verse first, but Wale's album just came out after Jay's. And then, Cole actually shouts out this article and stuff like that. We're going to play that right now. Check that out.
Rap Radar. Check me out. It's a great article, man. Shout out to my man Rob. You can tell he put in work, quality work. There it is.
The material is already, I know.
I guess you did make the album then. I guess the leak wasn't fake.
Oh no, it wasn't. It's all fake.
It's official, huh? I don't think they got enough. Nah, they got enough. She said they only got those. That's it? Those are the only ones you got? Take it on. Those are the only blueprints you got?
What does this mean right here, though, bro?
My first official album, dog. My first credit. My first feature on a major album.
The beginning.
Shout out to Wale. I was almost on Wale shit first. It's a good first look.
Boom. So, like I said, listening to Cole and Eve's podcast, it just started bringing back these memories. I also still think I have the tape, the audio tape, because I would go, we're reporting, I would go with an audio tape recorder, tape the interview, come back to the office, transcribe it, and write this article. I got to find it. I recently moved and I gathered all the tapes I could find. Here, I took a picture of it. You can check it out right here. So these are like some of my tapes. These are not even all of it, but these are some of my tapes of different interviews that I did. And I'm going to look through this and see if I find the J. Cole interview from this and listen to the whole like unabridged thing and see what else is in there. It should be interesting. And then, this was before the XXL freshman cover, which came in 2010. And then we come back and we put Cole on the freshman cover. He talks about this in the inevitable. Also, he was late to the thing. If you listen to it, this is the first time he met Kendrick Lamar, was at this shoot. He was late to the shoot because he was working with Pharrell and the flight back from Miami. It was already going to be tight, and they knew. I had called Cole to be on the cover too. Another thing is he was on his way to the studio to record Just Begun for Reflection Eternal for Kweli and Mos Def, and Jay Electronica was on it. So I remember him on the phone, like I called him about the freshman cover, and he was like, yo, I'm about to be on the song with Mos Def and Kweli. And he was like, yo, I think I got this verse. And he was like, he gave me like a few bars of the shot. I'm like, damn, that shit sound hot. And I asked him about the freshman cover. He was like, man, I don't know. I got to think about it. Like, you know, I think he said it was like the Madden curse, the John Madden curse, John Madden football, those who play Madden. You know, he just didn't want, again, and it speaks to what that article was saying, he didn't want the fame before he had the actual body of work. But he did eventually do it, and they let us know that he had a session with Pharrell in Miami, and that right after he was going to come to New York for the freshman shoot, but it was like a same day, like he was going to land that morning, you know, and he was going to take an early morning flight and land that morning, then come to the shoot, and then the flight got delayed, so he didn't come to the end. This is when he met Kendrick, even though if you listen to the podcast, it seems like he didn't remember meeting Kendrick there. He met Kendrick at a UNI concert again. Shout out to UNI. Yeah, man, it just kind of brought things back. So I wanted to just give my perspective, maybe share something with y'all. Definitely share this story and talk about it. But if you haven't listened to the Inevitable podcast, it's dope. And then all this music we're getting, you know, if you came up on Cole's music, and you know, I think this is gonna jog a lot of memories, man. So hopefully y'all enjoy it, and hopefully really y'all enjoy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for y'all. I'm thankful for the way y'all support this channel, the way y'all support me. I know a lot of y'all see me getting attacked, you know what I'm saying, on social media, on Twitter. A lot of y'all are taking up for me. You know, a couple people calling me a liar and a clout chaser and this and that, and we're not worried about that. But that shit doesn't bother me. But I love to see how y'all kind of defend me, and not in like weird ways either. Y'all just be like, nah, respect. Like y'all just throw respect on it, which I love. So I appreciate y'all. So happy Thanksgiving to y'all, man. Much love to y'all. And you know, I'm gonna come back with something else tomorrow. We're gonna have to go back to breaking down some of this Kendrick stuff. We got thrown a little bit off track. I still want to talk about Corday's album. You know, I'm just gonna find a way to keep pumping out videos as long as y'all keep watching and supporting. All right, peace.